I built a small table that goes over the armrest of my couch so I can finally give the remote a place, and I can also use it to place drinks and snacks on it while watching TV. Do you want one too? Follow me and lessons anfangen.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
And we are back in the workshop. This time I have this beautiful piece of cherry lumber I like to use for this project. I won't need a whole board, but a little bit more than half. So let's start by cutting the piece to size. Look at this beautiful grain pattern. I still don't have my miter saw here, so I used my skill saw. To make the job easier, I used some insulation board I had laying around to raise up the piece of lumber, so I don't risk cutting into my workbench and the piece that I cut off won't fall on the floor. Here I'm cutting the pieces for the top and both of the sides. This will hold the table in place on the couch's armrest. They all need to be the same length, so I'm using the previous piece in the pen to trace the dimensions onto the next board before I cut it. Before I started the glue up, I needed to cut the side pieces to the correct width. So let's put on some eyes and ears and use the table saw to do so. Also the pieces for the top needed some cleanup on the sides. Once all the pieces are cut, it's time for the glue up. I'm using type 1-3 wood glue. To hold the pieces in place, I'm using my pipe clamps. I repeated the same steps for all the other pieces. Once I had everything glued up, I let the pieces dry overnight. It's the next day now and it's time to take off all the excess glue. The easiest way to do so is to use the planer. You could just start to assemble the pieces now, but of course I wanted to do a little extra to add my touch to the project. And what's better than engraving a cool pattern onto the couch tray and then fill that with resin? Really, there's nothing better. I think it's a great idea, so let's do it. And that's the finished pattern I came up with. I really love greenery and I love to incorporate plants into my living room as much as I can. I think this ties the real plants that are scattered throughout my house into the living room, and I really like that look. For this resin pour, I can't go in my studio like I usually do, since I have projects in there that are in the way. So I will do the pour in my workshop. It's not very well ventilated, so I'll have to wear a respirator. I'll mark my cup with a Sharpie since it doesn't have any measuring lines to make sure I have equal parts. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Make sure you measure them correctly. Like always, I'm using total wood resin. And now it's time for a quick mix. Let's keep it fun and stay active with some hip swings. I'm telling you, this is a game changer and makes mixing and sanding go by in a breeze. Try it out for yourself. Don't feel embarrassed. You might find yourself doing it and start giggling a bit, overcome with a feeling of joy. I added some mica powder to the resin to give it a cool greenish blue color. Then I poured the resin slowly over the board. The nuance is on slow here. You want to give the resin opportunity to fill in all the gaps by itself and not trap any air bubbles underneath it. Once all the gaps are filled, let the resin dry for at least a day. It's a few days later now, and this is how the resin looks. The easiest way to remove the excess is to use a planer. I took off a few thin coats just to expose the wood to make it easier to sand the resin smooth. I started with 80 grit and then worked my way up the numbers to 320 grit. Sanding always takes some time, so let's have fun again. All done, nice and smooth, and now it's time to assemble. You can assemble the piece in multiple ways. You can just use wood glue and a few nails. I chose wood glue and countersunk screws for the back lip and pocket holes for the side pieces. It's probably totally overdoing it, but, well, I do it anyways. I pre-drilled all the holes to avoid splitting of the wood. I used my crack pocket hole jig for the pocket holes. I added 2 pocket holes on each side. Pocket holes are known for moving the wood piece the last second, so make sure you secure it before you screw it. That was a pretty quick assemble. Now it's time for the finish. Like always, I'm using liquid hydration wood oil. Once that's dried, I will apply a thin layer of Moose Magus wood butter. I let the oil dry overnight and came back the next day, wiped off any excess and applied Moose Magus wood butter. And this is the result. What a beautiful, smooth and durable finish. Let's place it on the couch to see how it looks. And it fits perfectly. Ooh, I love it. How do you like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't done so, please visit my Patreon. You guys have been so amazing. I listen and read to all comments and suggestions and implement a lot of the requested changes and ideas. Please leave me a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also make sure you click the bell to get notified of new videos. See you next Friday. Tschüss!